Again, welcome everybody. As I said, to Success Habits webinar, which is part of webinar series from Profit HQ. Look forward to the next 45 minutes to an hour. I think 45 minutes will probably do it, but really it's just about giving you some really sort of intensive tips and information to help you on your journey in business today, which is not easy, which you all know how difficult and hard it is. So these days, any little tip can have a big outcome. So what I'll do is I'll just oops, I was going to go through, hopefully do the slides. So I might just stop the video here and go straight to the slide presentation. Oops. Okay, so those who don't know me, my name's Philip Coombs and the founder of Profit HQ. My experience is 30 odd years plus as a business owner and leader in business. I've learned I've learned a lot of business from my experience of over 14 different companies, but I've learned a lot about what to do, but certainly a hell of a lot learned about what not to do. And a lot of what we're putting forward today and in the webinar series is some really powerful stuff that are across my journey and of learning and experience, which hopefully can help you. So Profit HQ is a company I sold out of my company 6 years ago. Now just focus on Profit HQ, which is a new career for me, new life as a business coach, which I love, and with the team of Jav, Renee, and Megan. So we're a growing business, but it's a very exciting journey. And instead of running businesses, trying to teach others to run businesses and provide them with tips is a whole different ballgame. But I love it. Now the topic of today's webinar is habits, highly successful habits in business. So it's very topical for me. To me, it's one of the most important success factors in business. That's certainly my observation over the years, that you really, why are some people more successful than others? There's no doubt that success comes from that more successful people have more successful habits than others. So it's not something that's talked about or not. It's not often written about or not, but it certainly is. And this is where today I want to really focus you on a number of tips that can make a big difference. And also for you to find out, what habits could you change that could make a very big difference to you in your business career and your business. So I hope for you, try through this session to try to pick on one or two things or habits that if you change, what would make the biggest difference to you in your business? First of all, what are habits? Habits can be good, habits can be bad. But the point is, if you want to be successful in business, you've got to have an awful lot of good habits. So what are habits? Is it something that you do often and regularly? And that's the point. You've got to think about habits. It's not something, an action I think is something that you do once. And you might do it a second time, might do it a third time. But habits are something that are really done on a regular basis. Like going to the gym, if you go 2 times a week or 3 times a week and have for the last 3 years, it's a habit. And to be honest, if you smoking and you smoke a packet a week or what have you, that's a habit, and some would say it's a bad habit. So in other words, habits are something you've got to appreciate that you do often and regularly. I love this quote, to use it a lot. Is people do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide the futures. I think that's a classic, and I think it really epitomizes what we're talking about. So if you want to be successful in business, you've got to learn the habits they're going to make you successful. So the point is, it brings us to what habits are going to make you successful in business. And habits I've personally broken down into 2 parts. First of all, habits are how you manage yourself, and the second one is group of habits is how you manage others. But for today's focus, it's very much about habits around how you manage yourself. Because I think in business is that if you can't manage yourself, it is very, very difficult to manage other people. So starting point, I think, in terms of habits is very much as looking about your own habits. Good habits, bad habits, but it's really understanding. But all I can say is, unless you have a lot of very good, well-disciplined habits in business, it's very difficult to be successful. So the focus of today's session is going to be very much about how you manage yourself. So habit number one, which when you study successful people in the world, there is no doubt one of the common threads is the fact that highly successful people have an incredible appetite to learn and spend time daily, weekly, monthly. It's just have and it's ongoing, and you find that highly successful people never stop learning. And when I see people and coach people, what I see is that one who learns, that people who spend the least amount of time learning are the least successful. There is no question in my mind of the linkage between your ability to spend time in learning and the success of your business. So something I can emphasize to you is that, do you spend enough time learning? And it's learning about business. Everyone's got a pretty high technical competence what they do. If you're a plumber or an electrician or you're in sales or what have you, they've got a high technical competence. But I can tell you now, from my experience, the business knowledge is a very, very low level, and that's why you have to spend time learning about business. And it's what you learned 10 years ago is very different from what you learn today. You can't and you never will know it all. So in other words, how do you learn? Read books. Yeah, I mean, God, I've got 4 partly read books beside my bed, but every night I read something, and it's a bad habit is I pick up bits and pieces of different books, but okay, doesn't matter. I spend time every night reading and learning. Do online courses. I do online courses. Is a mentor business coach is another way of learning. If somebody can ring them and say, look, I don't know about how to systemize my business. Can you help me? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? I don't care how it is you want to learn, but you've got to learn somehow. Another big one is ask questions. If you don't know, ask questions. I think for some reason we always have a fear of asking questions, or fear of being dumb. No such thing as a dumb question. So please get into the habit of asking questions. Search an internet. So there's lots of methods you can learn, but the point here is you must spend time learning about business. So if you don't spend enough time being honest with yourself about learning about business, please do something about it. 2, another big one for me, embrace change. And not enough people have realised that you've got to continually change and morph your business and yourself. So it's not only just business change, it's a business will only change if you change and the people in it. So we're not talking about embracing change. You've got to continue to look for ways to add value to the customer, how to improve what you do by doing things better, cheaper, faster, easier. And most importantly is it in a culture in your business, which is determined by the people that work for you, as a leader, is building a culture where change is the norm. If you've got people in the business who are resistant to change, it's going to restrict the business. It's not healthy. It's not good. So not only have you got, but you're not going to build a culture of change unless you're adapting, embracing change yourself, and continue to look for opportunities to change. In other words, way to improve things. It's help the customer, the client. It's just keeping open eyes, bracing change. And doing something about it, and build a culture in your business where everybody's the same. But look, as I said, we found many philosophies during the course of our coaching. Existence of Profit HQ, and this is another line we use quite a bit, is that in the future there'll be 2 kinds of businesses: those that change and those that disappear. Nothing could be further from the truth. I've got to say, in my time as a business owner, I would say that I probably lost 75% of my major competitors, predominantly because they didn't change. So please, if you don't embrace change, do something about it, because I think it's a habit. Big one for me is act in spite of fear. Every business owner, no matter how big or small, has fear. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of don't know, fear of all sorts of things. But the thing is, I know about highly successful people, you know what? It's not they don't have fear, they just act in spite of fear. So don't hesitate to start to do some things in your business to get out of your comfort zone, take on challenges, and appreciate that, you know what? You'll make mistakes, but mistakes are learning experiences. They're not something to be feared. And the thing is that how do you reduce the risk of fear, or how do you reduce the risks involved? You get some help. But the point is that what I'm saying to here is that you, in terms of behaviour, you've got to push yourself out of your comfort zone and act in spite of fear. So just something to think about. But mind you, taking on challenges, making mistakes is all part of your own learning experiences. So please consider this in what you're doing. Planning. I cannot emphasize strong enough how important planning is. And I'm not seeing enough of it. It's not a habit of enough people. It's something they're not used to, haven't done in the past, don't understand. So lack of knowledge, it can be lack of habit. Is that please make planning a habit in what you do. So planning can be daily, weekly, time and task management, 90-day plans, one-page plans for problem solving, marketing plans, strategic plans. There's many different forms of planning, but there's no doubt that the people who spend time planning the day, the night before, about what they must get done, achieve a lot more than the ones that don't. Those that do 90-day plans achieve a lot more than those that don't. Those that do marketing plans sell more than those that don't. The more time planning, the better the results of your business will be. But something not to forget, to me, is one of the major parts of planning process is spend time thinking. Thinking is the most important part of any planning process. The actual documentation is secondary. If you've done the thinking and you've spent the time thinking, you'll get the right outcome. Again, one of our philosophies is a failure plan is a plan for failure. Habit 5, set goals and continue review. Again, I'm not seeing enough of people setting goals for themselves in the business or even in their own personal lives. Goal setting is essential to what you're doing, is to establishing goals, whether it's a 3-month goal, 30-day goal, 6-month goal, 12-month goal, 3-year goals, 5-year goals, or a big, hairy, audacious goal. Set goals and continue to review them. But I think goal setting comes along with also the determination around wanting to achieve your goals. So something to think about in goal setting is a newer format which we're running with these days in goal settings. In other words, it is the format I love to use now is from X to Y by when. In other words, if your sales at $1 million a year and you want to grow to 3 million within 12 months, so it would be sales from 1 million to 3 million by 12 months' time. Very important, and goals must be measurable. So, the old SMART acronym is one which we use a lot in terms of the simple, measurable, achievable, timely. I can't remember what MODAR is. Huh? Realistic, that's right. Thanks, Joe. Realistic. So I think it's a good way, but the format from X to Y by when is a really, really good one to do. And regularly review your goals. How are you going? Are you achieving them? Aren't you? What are your gaps? What have you done well on? What haven't you done well on? So again, that review is part of the goal process. And another one for us is which we're implementing more and more amongst our clients now, is to develop and focus your team on your WIGs, which is the wildly important goals. In other words, set up a quarterly theme in your business and amongst your team. And it might be sales, it might be marketing, it might be lead generation, it might be productivity. It doesn't matter what it is amongst your team. If say you've got a factory and you've got a team of people and your productivity is running around 80 to 90, 80 odd %. Set a goal, might be set a goal for the next 3 months to where you want productivity at 100%. So that the team knows what the productivity, what the goal, and you meet weekly on it to evaluate your goal, your performance on a weekly basis. It's if you've got a goal, it definitely changes behaviour of your team of people around you. So again, I want you to think about not goal setting just for you, setting goals also for your team. Again, BHAG is a big, hairy, audacious goal. Fantastic to have a vision, to dream. There's no doubt in my mind that the larger the goals that people set, the further they go. Doesn't mean to say they achieve them, but what we do know is the lower the bar on the goals that's set, the less it gets achieved. You know, and just an important point: the people with goals succeed because they know where they're going, provided you continually monitor and review and take corrective action. Yeah, look, have a seek help. I think it's a real problem culture in Australia that where it's almost against Australian culture to ask for help. That just you're supposed to suck it up, princess, and have a teaspoon of cement and just get on with it. But it's just not like that at all. Business is tough, and I find nobody can be successful in business these days without seeking help. So, understand again, we talked about you can't know, won't know it all. So if you don't know something, you've got problems, don't leave it too late. Seek some help with it. I think that's one of the biggest problems is people, when they need help, they leave it too late. Right, and it's just, I don't know, it's a fear of being dumb, or a fear of exposing yourself of inadequate. I think the other thing too is you do seek help. Take feedback as constructive. That's what it's there for. You've got to be able to take constructive feedback to be successful. But I think the big point for me in the seeking help is seeking help to us. It's a strength, not a weakness. And it's just a shame in this country that that I think it's our heritage leads to self that it's not a good thing to seek help. It's a weakness. So again, I encourage you, don't hesitate, and just picking up the phone, talking to somebody, seek some help, a business coach, a mentor, close friend, no matter, someone else. If you're struggling, get some help. Focus, 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 focus. It's really, really important. I think it's probably one of my biggest criticisms of just, and even myself and seeing my clients is that we're all too easily distracted by things we like to do, we want to do. Things like social media and our smartphones that we're distracted by email, social media. It's just so many distractions. But the success comes from an ability to focus. And the first point I made there on the slide is that know your big rocks. And what are your big rocks? Your big rocks are your important but not urgent tasks. Your most important stuff you work on, that if you were to spend time on it, will make a big difference to you in the business. You've got to know what your big rocks are and make sure you focus your attention on them. So if you don't know what the big rocks are, you don't know about how to prioritize and understand your tasks, seek some help. Regular review your focus. It's not even just focus of yourself, but it's also focus of your team. We talked about the wildly important goals. Goals. One of the things about the wildly important goal setting for your team is it allows them to focus as well. I mean, business is a whirlwind. There's so much there that consumes you, from the phones, emails, and having to get orders out, having to get quotes, and it just doesn't allow you to focus on the things you need to spend some time on. So one of the things I encourage people to do there, which again to make a big difference to help with the habit of focus, is to schedule time weekly for your big rocks, important tasks. In other words, that Wednesday between 9 and 10, I'm not going to be disturbed, and I'm just going to spend some time to write, a sales system that I've been meaning to write for 2 years. So whatever your big rocks are, if your big rock is sales, make sure you schedule time in your diary to say, righto, I'm going to focus on sales calls or follow-up or quotes on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays between 10 and 11, doesn't matter when it is. If you schedule time in your diary, there's a 90% chance of it happening. If you don't schedule time in your diary, there's less than 10% chance of happening. No different to scheduling the time in your diary for an appointment. You'll make 90% of your appointments. But if you don't put it in a diary, you haven't got a hope. Big one, disciplined. Be disciplined in using your time. You're not making more of it. So, be careful of your distractions. It's about being disciplined and monitoring distractions and spending time on your important tasks, the things that you, and remember, appreciate that a lot of important tasks may not be the tasks you necessarily love to do, but you need to do or have to do. And it's important and non-urgent tasks are what shifts the business. Habit 8, spend 50% of your time on market-facing activities. When you're an SME, I'm sorry, but we tend to come up through the trade as a plumber, electrician or something, and we spend our time working on the tools, doing this, doing that, or getting quotes, I'm not so much getting quotes, but delivering stuff to site. You've got to spend at least 50% of your time on market-facing activities, which relates to sales, marketing activities, time with customers, time with listening to customers, talking to customers, listening to their needs. Whatever it is, it's what you have to do. If you want to grow a business, it's a habit you have to have. And what I see a lot of business, when you think 98% of the businesses in the world employ 98% employ less than 10 people, a lot have trouble growing. And one of the major problems of trouble growing is because the owner is not spending enough time as a regular habit on marketing and sales activities. And it's pretty simple, no sales, no business. I don't care what anyone says, I still feel the best person to sell any business, what business has to offer is the owner and leaders. Pretty simple, the more contact they make and more time you spend on marketing sales, the more sales you'll get. And the more time you spend getting to know your customers is simply the more business you'll get, the more you'll know about it, the more money you'll make. So growth is the lifeblood of business, and growth comes from spending time on marketing sales activities. You might think the easiest way is, I don't really like doing that. I'll employ someone else to do it. Well, there's not a big track record of success with people doing that. As you get bigger, it might be a bit different, but when you're in the smaller ranks and which most business, at 98% of the business in the world are, you've got the owner leader's got to do that. Habit 9, learning to say no. Saying no gives you power and control. Is it no? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not going to take that job on for 8% margin. I'm sorry. We don't have the capability to do that job. So I'm sorry. No, we won't do it for those contract conditions. That's just not acceptable. Learning to saying yes and not learning to say no is way more defining than saying yes. So really, I think saying no in a business defines who you are much more than just saying yes to everything. So, and the other part, I think it gives you confidence. And I think it's a discipline. If you want to, one of the most valuable things we have in our life at the moment is time. If you don't learn to say no, other people consume your time for you, and I I think everyone today that I come across is in just overload of things consuming their time. So you have to get a discipline and a habit of learning to say, no, you know what, I'd love to catch up for dinner, but I'm sorry, this week's just too busy, and let's schedule something for 2 or 3 weeks' time. So you don't just have to say no, you can defer things, but be very careful over your time and be very careful over your business in not saying no, just taking on any work. And also, if you're not spending your time on activities that have just got low or no margin, it enables you to look for more opportunities. And as I said, the big one, eliminate distractions. So if you really want to define yourself in business a lot more, just learn to say no. I'm not saying it's easy, and that's why it's a habit, because, in business, I think, yes, we're very early in our piece, I think we learn to say yes to everything. Big one for me, habit 10, unwavering bias for action. I think two of the most really powerful habits is one about it, and that insatiable appetite to learn. And the second one for me would be, if I, had to prioritise in any way, shape or form, it's an unwavering bias for action. Is it, in other words, just getting, excuse the French, just getting shit done, getting stuff done, just freaking do it. I tell you wouldn't believe how much as a business coach, all I hear is excuses. Oh, haven't been able to get onto this, haven't done this, and all excuses in the world, and successful people don't just continually make excuses. The results are only achieved from the actions you take. And the actions you take on a regular basis are what forms your habits. So if you're continually making excuses, you're not going to get the results. It won't happen. And I think the other thing in terms of integrity, talk a lot about integrity, is doing what you say when you say. So in other words, actions are done when they need to be done or when you say they're going to be done. You cannot get execution of any strategy, any plan. You could sit down with me, you could sit down with Jav and come up with a 90-day plan to make some significant change in your business. But unless you're going to go away and do the stuff in the plan, it's a total waste. Execution of plan has got to become a strength. And you cannot execute your plan without a total unwavering bias for action. You're just not going to not do stuff. You're going to get it done. And, I've got some of my clients are bloody fantastic at it. I've got some of my clients are fantastic. And others are good sometimes, not so good others, and that's probably pretty standard, in terms of how you cut the cake. But if you want to become a successful person, you've got to be a can-do person or the go-to person. Always said, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy or successful person, because they get stuff done. So a couple of words to help with that in terms of bias for action is discipline, persistence, focus. And again, a few of these slides, you're starting to question your habits. I would say that there's some issues in there with discipline. So again, if you've got a problem with discipline, get some help, because you just won't get to where you want to get to without sorting it out. But I love the expression, again, another philosophy for you is that, do you want results or excuses? You can't have both. Next one is managing your capacity. And I think, very much in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which has been around a long time now. He there had a habit in his book there about sharpening a saw, and this is very much a part of that. Is that, he also included sharpening a saw about your learning, and which we've already covered. But here it's very much about managing your capacity, is ensuring you get plenty of sleep. Yeah, okay, it's pretty bit of a joke me talking about it. I probably sleep less than most people, but you know what? I know I need more sleep, and occasionally I have to bash myself around the head to make sure that I do. Diet's important, exercise, and a big one that's been added into the capacity, which I've seen recently, which we've added here, is that your happiness. If you're not happy in what you're doing, if you're not happy in your home life, it does influence your capacity and your ability to be successful in work. And again, How do you also help manage your capacity? It's saying no. So, I think the point here is what we're trying to make is that your capacity is essential to success. So if you're not, I think the one, that probably, that comes out the most is very much diet, exercise and sleep and lesser degree happiness. And everybody says, yeah, I need to say no more often. But, think about it. Have you got the right habits in terms of that you're at your peak of capacity? 12, another important one, put in the effort. You cannot be successful in business without putting in the effort. Just not possible. And highly successful people will tell you that, what made you successful? I just put in more effort than the next bloke or the next person. That can be applied to sales, ownership, business ownership, whatever it is that I do not know is possible. You can't be a professional tennis player. You can't be a golfer or tennis player or successful in any sport without putting in an awful lot of effort. So if you think business is any different and success in business is any different, no, it's not. And it's not about all the time, but you've got to know when to put it in. There's times when businesses need the extra effort and there's times when you can back off. So the whole point is put in the time and the effort when it's required. If it needs more, give it more. There's plenty of time to back off when you're successful. I heard that expression from someone. That's, it's fantastic. It's a time to back off when you're successful, not when you're at the bloody, not when you're trying to be successful. And I think the whole point I want to make there is that nothing in life was ever achieved without effort. Really, question here is, can you change habits? Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Is it easy? No, I don't think anyone's talking about that's easy, but can you change habits? Yes, you can. Now, is it, we through Profit HQ are doing some research in this area at the moment because we realise that many people's habits needs changing, but we're not experts. We haven't been experts in it. So what we've come across is a system now called the Science System, which I won't go into too much detail here. But if you've got habits that you want to change and you think you need help, is contact us at Profit HQ here and we will talk to you about the evolution of what we're doing with the Science System to help people change habits. And it's very. But the point about the Science System that really resonated with me is that it is a system, and like everything in business, you need a system for HR, you need a system for winning work, doing the work, for finances, you need systems, and it's no different. If you want to change your habits, you need a process ingrained into a system that could work. So if you would like to know more about that, please let us know. But I'd be very surprised if everybody hasn't got one or two habits here that they would really, really like to change. It's going to make a big impact. And if you haven't, you're not being truthful to yourself. So if your results in the business are not what you want, if your business is not where it wants to be, and you want to change your results, you have to change your habits. There's no question about that. So I think one of the first steps in that process is you can accept the fact is that, do you want better results in your business? Do you want to change, and are you prepared to change? Because unless you start there, unless you're determined or is it, in change management theory, unless you've got a high level of dissatisfaction, you're not going to get anywhere with change. And you're not going to get better results in your business unless you're prepared to change something. So you've got to think about it, and to change something in the business, 90% of the place you've got to start with yourself about you doing something different. And it might be, if the business is suffering from sales as a business owner, yes, I've got to spend more time on marketing and sales. Step 2. What I'd like you to do is to make a note of what 3 habits could you change that would make a significant difference to you and your business. Then from that, which one would you work on first? Because the thing is about habits. You can't work on a lot at once. So my suggestion is you've got to take it in baby steps and just pick one habits and to make gradual change in terms of changing your habits in one area. And then from that, when you're comfortable, you've got the changes of your habits embedded into what you do, then you look at changing the next habit. So again, it's not something you take on too much at a time at all, because accept it's not easy. But if you want the results, you've got to change something. You've got to change some of your habits. So I think the point here, if you would like to understand a bit more about this and a little bit more about the science system, which we're going to roll out very shortly, is just contact one of us at the Profit HQ team, and we would love to talk to you about it, get your feedback, how you found how you found this webinar, and we found it useful. We trying to keep it very focused to. Some people would say when it comes to habit, you know what, there's two habits, and the two I hear a lot are said it's just the unwavering bias for action and the insatiable appetite to learn, but you know what, there's more than that. But, are they important? Yeah. But I think everybody has different habits. So the whole point of having a cross-section here is that one or two or three of these habits could make a huge difference to you and your business. Anyway, thank you very much for attending.